Hello friends, welcome to our channel. In this video, we'll be discussing the top 25 React interview questions and providing detailed answers. If you're preparing for a React interview, this video is for you. So let's get started. What is React? React is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces UI first developed by Facebook, now Meta. It allows developers to create reusable UI components that update efficiently when the underlying data changes, resulting in a fast and interactive user experience. What are the key features of React? Some key features of React include virtual DOM for efficient rendering, component-based architecture for reusability, unidirectional data flow JSX syntax for writing HTML-like code in JavaScript, React Native for building mobile applications, React Router for managing navigation in web applications. What is JSX? JSX stands for JavaScript Syntax Extension. It is a JavaScript extension that allows us to describe React's object tree using a syntax that resembles that of an HTML template. It is just an XML-like extension that allows us to write JavaScript that looks like markup and have it returned from a component. What is the difference between a functional component and a class component? A functional component is a simpler and more concise way to define a component in React. It is a JavaScript function that returns JSX. In contrast, a class component is a JavaScript class that extends the React.component class. Class components have additional features like lifecycle methods and state. What is the purpose of the render method in React? The render method is a required method in React components. It returns the JSX or elements that should be rendered to the screen. The render method is responsible for describing the UI based on the component's props and state. What is a controlled component in React? A controlled component is a component whose form elements are controlled by React through its props and state. The value of the form element is controlled by React, and any changes to the value are handled by event handlers defined in the component. What is the purpose of keys in React lists? Keys are used in React lists to help identify each item uniquely. They help React to efficiently update and re-render only the items that have changed, rather than re-rendering the entire list. What is the significance of the useEffect hook in React? The useEffect hook is used in functional components to perform side effects such as data fetching, subscriptions, or manually changing the DOM. It allows you to perform these side effects after the component has rendered or when certain dependencies have changed. What is the purpose of the useState hook in React? The useState hook is used in functional components to add state to the component. It returns a state variable and a function to update that variable. When the update function is called, React will re-render the component with the updated state. What is the difference between props and state in React? Props, short for properties, are read-only data that are passed from a parent component to a child component. They are used to configure and customize a component. State, on the other hand, represents the internal data of a component and can be changed over time. State is managed within the component itself. Explain the concept of lifting state up in React. Lifting state up is the process of moving the state from a child component to its parent component. This is done when multiple child components need access to the same state or when the state affects multiple components. By lifting the state up to a common parent, the state becomes shared and can be accessed by all the relevant child components. What is Redux, and why would you use it with React? Redux is a predictable state management library for JavaScript applications. It provides a centralized store that holds the entire application state, and the state can only be modified through dispatched actions. Redux can be used with React to manage complex application state, especially when multiple components need access to the same data or when the application has a large and deeply nested component tree. What is the significance of the component did-mount lifecycle method in React? The component did-mount lifecycle method is called after the component has been rendered to the DOM for the first time. It is commonly used to perform tasks that require DOM access, data fetching, or subscriptions. This method is a good place to initialize any asynchronous operations that need to be performed when the component is initially mounted. What is the difference between shallow rendering and mount rendering in Enzyme, a testing utility for React? Shallow rendering in Enzyme renders only the given component, without rendering any child components. It allows you to test the behavior of the component in isolation. Mount rendering, on the other hand, renders the full component hierarchy, including child components. It provides a more realistic rendering of the component and allows you to test the interactions between components. How does React handle forms? React handles forms by using controlled components. In a controlled component, the form input value is controlled by React state. You set the value of the input to the state property and provide an onChange event handler to update the state when the input value changes. This allows React to be the single source of truth for the form input values. What is the purpose of the shouldComponentUpdate lifecycle method? The shouldComponentUpdate method is called before a component is re-rendered. It allows you to control whether the component should update or not. By implementing this method and returning false in certain cases, you can prevent unnecessary re-renders and optimize the performance of your application. How do you handle errors in React? React provides an error boundary feature to handle errors that occur during rendering, in lifecycle methods, or in the constructor of a component. An error boundary is a React component that catches JavaScript errors anywhere in its child component tree. You can define an error boundary by implementing the static getDerivedStateFromError and component didCatch lifecycle methods. What is React Router? React Router is a popular library for managing routing in React applications. It allows you to create declarative routes, define URL parameters, and handle navigation within your application. React Router provides components like browser router, route, and link to help you set up and navigate between different views or pages in your application. What are React hooks? React hooks are functions that allow you to use state and other React features in functional components. They were introduced in React 16.8 and provide a way to write reusable logic without using class components. Some commonly used hooks are useState, useEffect, useContext, and useReducer. Explain the concept of context in React. Context provides a way to pass data through the component tree without manually passing props at each level. It allows components to access global data without the need for explicit props threading. What is the significance of React fragments? Answer: React fragments allow you to group multiple children elements without introducing additional DOM elements. They help to avoid unnecessary wrapper divs and keep the DOM structure clean. Explain the concept of virtual DOM in React. Answer: the virtual DOM is a lightweight copy of the actual DOM maintained by React. It allows React to efficiently update only the necessary parts of the UI when the underlying data changes. React reconciles the virtual DOM with the real DOM to minimize DOM manipulation. How do you optimize performance in React? Performance optimization in React can be achieved by using techniques such as code splitting, lazy loading, memoization, and using the shouldComponentUpdate method or React's pure component to prevent unnecessary re-renders. What are higher-order components? Hawk's answer: higher-order components are functions that take a component and return a new enhanced component with additional functionality. They are used for code reuse, prompt manipulation, and abstracting common logic in React components. How does React differ from React Native? React is a JavaScript library for building web applications, while React Native is a framework for building native mobile applications using JavaScript and React. React Native allows you to write mobile apps using React components that compile to native UI components. That concludes our video on the top 25 React interview questions and answers. We hope this information helps you in your React interview preparation. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more programming-related content. Thank you for watching and best of luck for your interviews.